All right. Well, welcome everyone to EPEW 2021. My name is Matthew Bassett, and I am the EPEW Director for 2021. Joining me today is Scott Townsend, who is also on the committee for EPW, and he will be helping us with the back channel and everything that's going on. We have three amazing people joining us today to present. We have Shape America CEO Stephanie Morris, Jamie Sparks, and Tom Loughery joining us, and they're going to talk about teaching HPE in a COVID-19 era, finding the positives, and what we must tackle moving forward. This is one of the sessions that I really wanted to get out. We also had Terry Drain yesterday, if you were able to see it. If not, it will be up on YouTube shortly if it's not already there. And we had a advocacy session on Monday for our share time. Our profession needs it more than anything now. We really need to make sure that we are advocating for our program and for our students because it is so important right now. What we're going to ask you to do is to put any questions that you have into the chat. Each of the presenters is going to keep a few minutes at the end of their share time to be able to answer those questions. And then we'll move to the second and the third person. If we have any problems with our tech, we will do our best. We already had one little hiccup before you came in today, but we're good. If there is a problem, we will use our email system to send out an update to you, let's say if Zoom decided to totally shut down again. If you are able to and you're presenting, this is a session where the content would be really awesome to push out on social media and the things that are being said and shared. Please use the hashtag EPEW 2021. And we also would love hashtag EPEW family. Today, we'd also like to ask you who is joining us from out there in the attendees. In the chat, put your name and kind of where you're from. We'd love to hear and see where you're from. And without further ado, I'd like to turn this over to the Shape America CEO, Stephanie Morris.
Hi, everybody. Excuse me. It's really great to be here. This is my first EPEW conference. I've long wanted to attend ever since becoming a part of the Shape America community. I've just heard rave reviews about how special EPEW is and how special it is when the community comes together at this conference. So it's really great to be here. I am going to go ahead and share my screen. Let me make sure I do this right. There we go. All right, we should be good, right? Okay. So this is me first and foremost, and I'm always accessible and available via email and Twitter. And I love hearing feedback from our community. So never hesitate to reach out. I'm very responsive usually, and I love hearing from members. So there is that. If you are not familiar with Shape America, and I hope that each and every one of you are, of course, and that you're members, Shape America, the Society for Health and Physical Educators, is the national organization. We serve over 200,000 individuals on any given day. And that makes me more than 200,000 individuals on any given day. And that makes me so proud. And it really empowers us to be a major voice and advocate at the federal level for health programs and physical education programs. We also hold the standards for K through 12 physical education and the national health education standards, both of which are currently being revised, which is also an exciting piece of our work over the next couple of years. So this is our strategic direction. It is the focus for every single thing we do at Shape America. And I am really proud to say that even though COVID threw all of us completely off, who could have ever imagined we would live through the past year and a half and that it would be like it was. But this still was our anchor, this strategic direction. And it was the lens through it was the lens we applied for every single thing we did and every decision we made in terms of resources and staff time and where we put our energy. And quite simply, the strategic direction that will guide us through 2023 means that we focus on the member first. We are thinking about building a strong, diverse, equitable, inclusive health and physical education professional community. We are looking to build community and serve students through meaningful service learning and give back programs. And we're going to talk more about that in just a minute. And we are the voice for national standards and high quality professional development. Every single thing we do is rooted in national standards. And that is a really important piece for every teacher who interacts with us or uses our resources or attends a professional development training, to be able to go to your administrator, your curriculum supervisor, and explain that it's standards-based is really important. So that's the quick nutshell of Shape America and who we are and our focus. And now let's talk for a minute about this past year, right? The topic of this session. A year and a half ago, about a year and a half ago, we were focused on planning a national convention in Salt Lake City. We were thinking about an in-person professional development event that was going to happen in Louisville, Kentucky. And we were really excited for so much more. And COVID threw all of us off. It was just an incredible moment in time. But I'm really pleased that in this ironic way, Shape America had just transitioned to becoming a 100% virtual organization. So every one of our employees works from home, and we are now across the country in many ways, which I'm really proud of as well. But we were able to pivot seamlessly. We didn't miss a beat. We sort of went from, okay, we're not planning national convention anymore. What does that look like? To let's get every resource we can find and put it on our website right now and email it to every member, every community member that we can think of, to help them grapple in this moment when we've all been sent home, but we still need to teach kids. We need to reach them and make sure they're receiving physical education and health education. And we put all of that on our website. We work with partners to curate and develop new resources. And this cover just encapsulates all of our focus this past year. How do we do this? Distance learning in physical and health education. What does this look like? Here we go. And through this focus that we applied so quickly, the CDC reached out to us and tapped us to work with them to create the National School Reentry Considerations. And the reason I am still so proud of this comprehensive document, which is still on our website and free and available to anyone, is that embedded in this document were two things. One, we must prioritize health and physical education in our schools, now more than ever. And we made the argument successfully in this document that not only can you teach health and PE safely during a COVID era, but you must teach it. There are no subjects that are more important, frankly, right now, and that were more important this past year than health and physical education. So we made that very clear. We also really infused this document with advocacy tools and messages so that teachers could take this to their administrators and say, see, right here, CDC says we must be teaching health and physical education. And here are models for how we can do that, whether we're hybrid, whether we're distance learning, whether we're completely virtual. The other thing that really was important this past year, we can all agree, is social and emotional learning. And what I'm going to tell you, hands down right now, is that across the country, what we're hearing from administrators, from states, from DOEs, is that SEL will be the focus going into next year. While most of us expect to be back in person, that is a good thing, that's a beautiful thing, we're still in a COVID impacted era. There is so much trauma that has been experienced at different levels by students and frankly by teachers, that social and emotional learning is going to be a huge focus, probably the #1 focus for principals and administrators going into next year. And what better subjects than PE and health education for SEL? I cannot think of any two more important subjects where SEL is taught in such a tangible, intentional manner. And our school reentry considerations covered this in spades. It really spoke to the connection between PE and health education and social and emotional learning. The other piece that I just mentioned, which was true this past year and a huge focus for us and our resources and the school reentry considerations, and will be important going into next year, trauma informed. And I know that's often a buzzword and it's kind of hard for many to understand what exactly does that mean. It means being inclusive, being accessible, really thinking about student choice and student voice, understanding how to evaluate student behavior and think about different approaches and students' emotional needs, which are going to be drastically different this next year than they've ever been, right, in the past. So this was a huge focus, again, for this document, which I still think is very relevant and very useful going into next year. We are also in the process of updating this document with the CDC based on the new guidelines that just came out. And we'll be talking about that at our Back to School Summit, which I'll mention more about in just a minute, as well as in more resources coming very soon from Shape America. So with that, I also just want to touch on something else that we focused on this past year that was very helpful for many teachers in navigating COVID. Health moves minds, because the very premise of this program is teaching health and PE through a social and emotional learning lens. So last year, first, I'm going to pause and I'm just going to remind everybody of the very definition of physical literacy, the ability to move with competence and confidence in a wide variety of physical activities in multiple environments that benefit the healthy development of the whole person. And the reason this definition is so important to us where Health Moves Minds is concerned is because we do talk a lot about social emotional learning in Health Moves Minds. That is very true and very important. But this program also has a lot of opportunity to teach and allow for practice of motor skills and other concepts that we've always taught in physical education. Those aren't being sidelined in any way, shape, or form. They are a core component of the program, but the SEL piece is layered throughout in a very intentional manner. And that's why what makes the program so unique and so powerful in so many ways. So this past year, we really took a step back from the fundraising focus of the program and just delivered content. We got content into the hands of as many teachers as we could. We called it Health Moves Minds at Home and standards right here, right? Every lesson plan involved in Health Moves Minds, every resource, we tied back to very specific standards because one, that's really important and that's what makes a high quality resource. And two, we knew that would really help PE teachers make the case with their administrators and their curriculum supervisors for teaching PE in a COVID impacted era. Again, huge emphasis on the SEL competencies, including self-awareness and self-management were big key things. And we heard a lot of positive feedback from teachers about those pieces in particular this past year with everything going on in COVID. Also, the daily big three. I love this, and you'll see a lot more of this in the program, this kind of element moving forward, where we had students identify 3 things they could do every single day while being out of school to take care of themselves physically and to be in touch with their mental health as well. And connecting those 2 concepts was met with a lot of positive feedback. And we also gave teachers the tools to help students track their daily 3 and to share out a little bit about their daily 3. As a quick reminder, if you're not familiar with Health Moves Minds, and again, I mentioned this past year, we took a step back from the fundraising piece, which was very appropriate, but there is a fundraising piece, and we know that for many schools, this will be a huge opportunity going into next year. I will direct you to Janice Price and KYSHAorg for a lot more information about how you can become a Health Moves Minds school, or of course, the Shape America team is always available to provide you with information and resources. But quite simply, the end of the day, the thing you need to know is when you engage in the fundraising component of the program, 60% of the money raised, of the gross money raised, comes back to your school in the form of a Gopher gift certificate, or if you choose to pay it forward and to select a local charity, right? Food pantries have been so strapped this past year. So many nonprofits offering mental health resources and services have been strapped and in demand. If you chose a local charity like that, or your local PTA would count, or I will mention KYSHAorg, your state affiliate organization also definitely counts. In that case, 25% of the funds raised goes to the charity, and 25% of your gross funds raised comes back to your school to provide resources for your PE and health program. And when I say resources, if you can spend those gift cards across any of the Gopher Sport brands, which are amazing. And there's so many different possibilities there. So I always like to mention that as well, because there's a lot of flexibility with that gift card. So that is my quick snapshot for you all about Health Moves Minds this past year. things that we implemented and things that we learned, frankly, about navigating a school year of COVID and how we could best serve the community. Moving forward, I want to highlight our Back to School Summit is August 3rd through 4th. It is completely free for Shape America members. And this is where you will be hearing straight from our friends at the CDC on those revised guidelines I just mentioned. They are going to be talking about sanitizing equipment, the do's, the don'ts, the best practices, straight from CDC. They're going to be talking about, yes, we will likely all be in person, but for our younger kids who are not yet vaccinated, there are still a lot of concerns and precautions that we need to be aware of. So I hope that you are all able to attend that and ask any questions you need to. Encourage your administrators to attend it. It's going to be a great back to school summit. We also have 2 new titles out, both related to social emotional learning and are proving already to be huge advocacy resources for the health and PE community. So I just wanted to mention that. And then last but not least, Shape NOLA. National Convention will be in April next year in New Orleans. I cannot wait to be with so many leaders from across the country in person. We have a call for proposals out right now. The deadline is July 26th. That's right around the corner. If you were thinking about putting in to present at the National Convention, I encourage you to do so. It's an amazing, phenomenal experience, one you will never forget. Huge growth opportunity, and National Convention's amazing, and just a wonderful moment of celebration for our entire community. And what better place to do it than in New Orleans? So that is what I have for you today. I'm going to pause and I welcome any questions. I'll stop sharing my screen and then I'll turn it over to one of my colleagues.
We don't have any questions in the chat at this point, so we'll pause just to see if anybody has any questions. If you would like to come off of mute, you could do the raised hand in the reactions below, and then we can see. Just going to pause just a little bit. Okay, I think we're good then.
Perfect. All right, with that, I get to introduce my good friend and colleague, Jamie Sparks, the Executive Director of Kentucky SHAPE, who is going to share with you next. Jamie, you're on mute still.
You don't seem to be connected very well. You are unmuted, but do you have headsets in or earbuds connected?
How about that?
There we go. Thank you.
You know, 15, 16 months of Zoom, we learned to troubleshoot really quickly on the fly, don't we? So welcome, everyone. It's good to be with you. My name is Jamie Sparks, Executive Director of Kentucky SHAPE. And I think that's the specific hat I'm wearing in this particular presentation, although I'm very fortunate to be very active in a number of roles, including working for ETR as our school health program manager, and recently just coming off the Shape America Executive Committee. So as Stephanie covered a number of those things, she asked Tom and I to join her in this presentation to share what this looks like in the real world from a state's perspective. And, so we'll go through some things. I'm just going to take you straight to our website and show you in the real world what this looked like and what we're continuing to navigate, because as we know and have learned, things change rapidly. And so I think for the first time in a long time, we have some consistency in where we think we're going as far as schools, but we also have
recording in progress.
Pending barriers out there with COVID-19. And so schools are already starting to talk about what that's going to look like for next school year. So vaccinations have definitely helped to put us on a little more firm ground as far as what the future looks like. But I think we're still in a monitoring situation. And so I will take you through where we've been and then also some things that are coming to updates to our state through new and most recent things that have come out, both at the State Department of Ed level, but also through Shape America, CDC, and other partners, as Stephanie discussed. So I'll take you to our website now, and we'll kind of see some of this in the real world. So from our website, which is KYSHAorg, a couple of things that we put front and center. We were having so much fun in the middle of COVID, we decided to officially change our name in the middle of it and launch a new logo. So we're about a year old, moving from KHPERD to KYSHAPE. And so our logo and actually it's worked out really good because we've had so many administrators and superintendents looking to us because our Department of Education, basically we're saying for health and PE, do what CDC says. And so when they turn to CDC, CDC says do what SHAPE says. And then it was kind of a trickle down effect as far as reentry considerations. So as we launched that, we did include a brand new site on our website under COVID-19. So we had both resources and supporting reentry. So both of these were specific to helping our schools and our administrators be current. So underneath the COVID-19 resources, that's where we kept the up-to-date information on school guidance directly from our Department of Ed, keeping our members informed on changes. And as we said, those changes would happen pretty regularly. But then the other part of this, in addition to that side of it, was the second part of that, and that's supporting reentry. And that's where the Shape America resources really came in very handy, because what we realized is advocacy was more critical than ever. Real-time advocacy was more critical than ever. And so we had a lot of different things to navigate and to keep our eyes on. So our board worked tirelessly in helping to stay current.
Recording in progress.
Having the best versions of what we were doing and knowing it came from there. So as we did that in supporting reentry, we continued to brand in what we were doing, but also stay connected to SHAPE and CDC. So in doing that, this is the part that we'll be redoing very soon. We actually have a conference coming up this weekend. So we're a little behind in some of our website updates. So it's still reflective of last school year. But why this was so important on the advocacy front, we actually created a video on Facebook because when these reentry considerations first came out, we actually had 10 of our board members that got together. We got together in a local gymnasium and we did a video and we demonstrated what these considerations look like in the real world. And so that video was very popular on both Twitter and Facebook. We have it linked to YouTube. If you hit refresh, there should be a link here, but I'm not seeing it on the version I'm looking at now. But it was really just taking and breaking down those reentry considerations and saying, if you do health and PE, it can be the best and the most safe environment for that. And so because we kept seeing the horror stories of places that were completely cutting PE or repurposing the gymnasium or things like that. And so we wanted to be that voice for our teachers and take that at the state level and say, here's why this health and PE were vital before. They're more critical and vital now, and they can be done safely. And so we demonstrated what social distancing looked like, what masking looked like, and how all of these worries and fears that like this is the one environment you need to make sure your kids are a part of because they need it more than ever. And so build to take those resources, put them into real life advocacy videos and demonstrate that. Now I will say, because we've moved so fast, we moved faster than the guidance in one of our videos, because our very first one, you got to realize masking is normal for us right now. But in July of 2020, it wasn't normal. We were still learning what that meant and when to do it and how much to do it and if schools would have to do it. And so when the reentry considerations first came out, we recorded videos where we took our mask off and did things. 2 weeks later, that changed. And so we've been doing a lot of changes and we got to continue to watch those things. So having our national association working so closely with national partners has been really important to keep us informed. Some of the other things that we pivoted on very quickly was around our virtual professional learning and offering events. So we did two things last year that were really important that are still available on our website for free. We started in June and July what we called our Tuesday at 2 town halls. Because things were changing week to week, this allowed us to do a number of live streamed professional developments. We did them a couple of different ways. We live streamed them to Facebook. We used YouTube, and then we also had recordings we shared out on social media. So all of those are still posted on our website. We started with the Reconsiderations June 23rd when they first came out. Dr. Brian Kreisman is our Superintendent of the Year here in Kentucky. For those that got to come to Speak Out Day in 2020, he was there with me. If you look on social media, #FitSoups, SUPTS, Brian's done a great job making his state platform, encouraging other superintendents to own this conversation. So he was our guest at Speak Out Day. He's going to join us again at our conference coming up. We're going to be live streaming that keynote on Facebook, so you can look for that. But Brian does a great job. Everybody on this screen, we can preach and scream and talk about health and PE all we want. But until we get administrators and superintendents singing our tune and saying our message, that's so vital. And so Brian has a very powerful message about, he was doing this before COVID, but he's even more passionate about it after COVID. So a great message. And he's also done a blog for Shape America as well around that importance. And so I encourage you to check out his work, check out his blog, and hopefully if you get a chance next Monday, he'll be doing our keynote as well. We also did some Health Moves Minds promotion. Our National Health Teacher of the Year, Jessica Napier. B3 was a new classroom-based program. And then we also did a virtual NTI. NTI is our version of virtual learning, non-traditional instruction. And so we had obviously Stephanie and some other guests that joined us to talk about that. So all of those are still available and free for anyone just to see where we've been. The other side of the event side for professional development was health education. And we worked with our health education cadre to upload a number of skills-based health ed support pieces, again, because of that advocacy piece. So a number of things that we're still working through and towards and getting our schools prepared for next school year and aligning those. But we basically take what comes from the national office because of those high-level collaborations, and then we're able to translate that into meaningful things for our state members here in Kentucky. And as Stephanie mentioned, the other key one that we've done a lot with was Health Moves Minds. And that's because of the SEL focus that allowed us to have a ready resource that's free and available. We launched 2 different things last year by and through Health Moves Minds. Most specifically, and we're doing it again this next year, you'll see it on our website here, Kindness Across the Commonwealth. We took those free resources from Shape America and Health Moves Minds and turned them into daily prompts for teachers. And so rather than just having a single day for World Kindness Day, we did a full week of resources and teaching prompts that everyone could focus on. And I still see this playing out in the world today. All of us, even as adults, are still a little on edge because the world is so different. And we respond differently, we type differently, we email different. No matter how cognitive we are of this, COVID has changed us, and how we interact with people has changed us. So I don't think having a lot more reminders on the importance of kindness and how embedded that is into social emotional learning, if we as professionals that are leading the way can recognize this, think about how much more that is true for our students and our staff and creating that healthy culture. So we're really excited to partner again. And we had a number of organizations that signed on with us. And so World Kindness Day is again annually November 13th, but we will do a statewide event related to Health Moves Minds again this year as well. So with that said, I will stop my share. If you got questions, reach out to me. It'll be about 2 weeks before I answer any of your emails, but I will get back to you eventually with our big event coming up. But I appreciate the opportunity to join you, and thank you for the invitation.
So any questions now for Jamie? Virtual raise of hand if you want to come off and mute, or in the chat.
Jamie, how many people worked on all these resources that you have put together on your website?
I would say we have a couple of different committees. We have a Health Moves Minds committee. Obviously, our executive committee was very involved, and it just depends on which the resource was. Honestly, on some of the guidance pieces, it was really just bringing our board together. So I would say most of it's been done by 10, 11 people in our work groups. We did, I think when most of it came together was last July. We did bring people to my house. I have a backyard, so we social distanced, we temperature checked, we wore masks, and we worked in my backyard to do a lot of it. And then that kind of helps move us along as far as the development of a lot of the resources.
It's an impressive website. I've seen it. You really just explained it so well right there.
Thanks, Bo. Appreciate that, man.
Any other questions for Jamie? Excellent. And I think we're ready for Mr. Tom. And Mr. Tom, I did meet you a little while ago. There you go. And I'm going to spotlight you and get you started.
Thank you. First of all, I'm very happy to be here. It was in September of 1962 that I started my career as an elementary physical educator. At that time, not many of us were really trained to be elementary physical educators. And so it was a whole new ballgame. I hope that I learned fast. Now I look at the standards we have, I look at the best practices we have, developmentally appropriate this and that. And I think I probably messed up a lot of people for 9 years, but hopefully they went past that and we're continuing to learn. We're continuing to see what is going on. So what I would like to do is just give you a little idea of, Jamie used the word pivot, and all of us had to pivot from one day to the next based on the situation where we were. And in doing that, just as Jamie did, we used a lot of people. The initial guidance came from CDC. We were in regular contact with Stephanie and Shape America and what to do about that. But we didn't stop just within our own house. We reached out because we had the luxury of having an 1801 grant through CDC that was Healthy Schools Grant. And the leader of this, Laura Beckman, was deeply involved in meetings on a regular basis in Atlanta. And when the initial guidance came out, it appeared from our state standpoint, from CDC, that physical education was to be optional. We did not like that. It's not just protecting the turf, but there's so many lessons that could be shared and that help set the culture of the school, that we worked not only with CDC through Laura and through Stephanie, but also with our Missouri State School Boards Association, because they too were looking at physical education as an optional subject matter. So we forged a really strong relationship with them. So we had Shape America, CDC, Missouri School Boards Association, and Missouri Department of Elementary and Secondary Education that all bought into the idea that physical education should not be optional. We would find a way to do it. And finding a way to do it when so many of our members and so many of the teachers in our state had never taught in a distance learning format was a major shock and a major challenge. We immediately developed contact with the Brown School of Social Work at Washington University here in St. Louis. And we worked with them to prepare administrators. How should administrators deal with social distancing, sanitation, masking, all the things that would be done, whether it would be an in-person instructional practice or it was distance learning. And so by working with all these partners, we had town hall meetings specifically for school district administrators in the state of Missouri. We had two people, Dr. Newland and Dr. Orshan, from the pediatric division of the medical school at Washington University, that explained the science behind COVID and the science behind all the mitigation strategies that had to be followed. This developed for us a great working relationship with Missouri school district administrators. There was back and forth that happened as a result of that. So again, that was the initial construct. We knew that we had to collaborate broadly throughout our state with the educational associations, with other state departments that were a part of that. Again, as we said, PE was listed as optional. We reviewed the reentry guidelines and made a pitch along with Stephanie and Shape America and other state leaders to make sure that it was no longer optional. So again, that resulted in success so that we're a part of ESSA, Every Student Succeeds Act. We're one of the important content areas. So Stephanie also had a number of discussions, not only for state leaders, but for others on the school reentry guidelines and how we should follow things like this, including one that was critically important to Jamie and myself. How do we go about canceling a state convention when we are contracted to do so? And that provided us with the impetus that we could go to our venue at the Lake of the Ozarks and have them opt out of the contract at no cost to us. If that would not have been the case, it would have cost us probably $90,000 in penalties. And so that again was one of the great national events that helped the state leaders to do this. Not only did we share our reentry guidelines broadly, first of all, some of you are aware, and Jamie's very well aware of this, Stephanie definitely is, on the robust digital media network that we have in MoShape. We have a member of our board who is working with Stephanie, is going to be a key in Jamie's workshop this next week. And our digital media group, we used to call it social media. Then we transitioned to MoShape Media, and we call it the digital media. We knew that we had to be in constant contact through all platforms. Through our membership management platform, we're able to be in contact with 997 members as much as we want to, daily, multiple daily, weekly, any environment, so that we could bring them up to date with what was happening. But not everybody checks their email. So what do? We have MoShape Facebook, we have MoShape Twitter, we have MoShape Instagram, and now we're beginning TikTok as well. This group, our digital media group, meets every Wednesday evening at 7 o'clock to plan what is going to be pushed out for this week. What are the dates? Who's going to be in charge of it? How do we communicate? What's the message? Who do we need to interview? And because of this, we had a lot of people coming to us with questions and concerns and helpful. So not only did we share the reentry guidelines, but we provided resource documents. For example, some of the documents focus on what can you do with no equipment and still teach a physical education class? What can you do with some equipment? What sanitation processes have to be followed after each use or after each class? And so we had a variety of resource documents that were made available to everyone. We established a leaders forum, and we have right now about 7 people that are the coordinators of the large school districts in the state. We have 510 school districts in the state, and of those 510, only 131 of them have K-12 population of 1,500 or greater. Those that have a lesser population probably do not have anyone designated as a health PE coordinator. But we're in the process of getting all the contact information. And this group, again, meets on Wednesdays. It's like a professional learning community, so that we're up to date on what is going on. It was critically important to focus on outreach. And we saw the initial success with what our state Health Moves Minds coordinator, Christy Berry, put out just as an idea that came to her mind. It was snowing in western Missouri. School was out. She and her husband went out, and her daughter Kylie helped to shovel the driveway. And they got out all the chalk, and they used some of the SEL thoughts and ideas to chalk your walk. Before the day was out, all over Higginsville, Missouri, we started seeing photos sent in to us where people were chalking their walk. The neighborhood where I walk here in St. Louis, as we were walking one afternoon, there were children out chalking their walk. And I stopped and thanked them for it. And when they saw an 80-year-old guy out walking in the neighborhood and knowing about chalk your walk, they were flabbergasted. And so the social media has a powerful presence. We also have 7 target LEAs that we work with on our 1801 grant through CDC. That allows us to go in and test processes and programs to see how they work. What we found in virtually all of them, and now this is spreading, where they saw how we were connecting with the WISC model, the whole school, whole community, whole child. And we were getting out of our silo. Instead of just being physical educators, or instead of being health educators or health and physical educators, we realized we had to connect with the entire school community. That was the guidance counselors, the psychologists, the social workers, the food services. And all of a sudden, the school started developing a health goal as a part of the school improvement plan. And when they have a health goal as a part of the school improvement plan, that's reviewable each year by the Board of Education, and they have to show what they're doing. We just shot an on-the-move video a month ago in Farmington, Missouri, one of our rural districts of maybe 2,500 students. And because they adopted the WISC model and focus on the SEL lessons, now they saw how this changed the entire culture of the school district in a positive way. Just as many of you took part in, and Jamie did this as well, we not only held a town hall meeting for school administrators, showing all that information, but we use our strong social media presence to listen and inform. Listening is one of the first tools that you have to have in your toolkit when it comes to social media, digital media. As far as physical education instruction, there was an immediate need to transfer to online or distance learning. How do you do that? When a school district is not prepared with a certain platform, many of them have platforms that provide for distance learning, but our teachers, we did an immediate survey and they found out, I don't know the first thing about starting with digital learning. What do we do? Well, one of the members of our board, Brad Brummel, teaches in the school district, Springfield, Missouri. It's the largest school in the state. Their school district 5 or 6 years ago launched a program for digital learning in every subject matter. And the program is called Launch, Launch. And Brad and his team set up a great platform for health and physical education. So we immediately called a Zoom meeting and had a town hall meeting for all of our members who wanted to find out the step-by-step process for creating and implementing online learning. We had close to 200 people there, plus there was a lot of follow-up. So we had to provide the guidance on somebody who's never heard the term distance learning. What does that mean and what do I do? One of the things that we found also was that we had to create an online testing program or a guidance for, so the teachers would have students do their fitness testing at home. And this is necessary because we have a reporting system in Missouri for doing this. What was really interesting was the survey one of the many surveys we conducted as people were getting started with this. 2 things really stood out. Most were super apprehensive. It was just like falling off a cliff with no safety net. But by doing that, Necessity is the mother of invention. And they were able to develop skills that they had not seen before. Over 60% of our members said that they significantly improved their contact with their learners and developed skills that were very worthwhile. The second important takeaway was that we asked how their mental and emotional health was affected by COVID restrictions. 80%, it went down. It was difficult. We really struggled. We were under so much stress. And yet, over 45% of them said that the resources you gave us really helped us deal with our stress. So now this year, we are focusing a lot on the stress level of the teachers, not only in PE, but in the entire school. And our digital media group is right now in the process of, and we've pushed out in the past 2 weeks, a couple of videos where we interviewed a social worker and another person. So again, those are the things that we did. And very fine, quickly, what are the next steps that we follow? We have to realize that we don't operate in silos. The more we can interact and be a leader in developing a strong coordinated school health council, part of the implementing the WISC model. We did this 15 years ago in Ferguson, Missouri. You know Ferguson, Missouri, a very difficult school district. We had a district wellness committee that met every month. And as a result of that, we made so many changes in the nutritional background, the physical activity involvement, things like that, and focused on, we paid our physical education teachers extra to conduct workout sessions for staff after school. And as a result, when the final report on this PEP grant was given to the school board on June 1st of 2010, the school board gave Laura Beckman a standing ovation for what they'd done. And immediately the following year, the health and physical education budget was the best funded content area budget in the district. So we have to do that. Our tagline, let Mo shape your future, active and healthy for a lifetime of success. We have to prepare people for military, for careers, for college entry. So we're much more than about the skills and the knowledge. We are about preparing people mentally and emotionally and confidently to go into an interview and say, I'm the best person for this. We continue to listen. Our digital media platform, if you hook up with us, you will see the results. So I know I've gone way over time. Sorry for that, but this was an important year for us. We pivoted probably 100 times and we're ready to zag. And you'll see the zagging if you tune into Jamie's live streaming next week. So thank you folks for allowing me to be a part of this.
All right, thank you, Tom, for your time. Are there any questions before we sign off today? All right, well, I wanted to, first of all, thank you for attending EPEW 2021. Special call out and thank you to Stephanie, Jamie, and Tom for presenting for us today and giving us some really awesome resources. Every educator, physical educator, health educator needs to be an advocate for your program this year. And really it goes beyond just our jobs, it goes down to our students. And that's really where I've been. I got bold in the last couple of weeks of school last year and went into my principal and said, we've been talking about heart rate monitors for a while. This is the year that we need to do it because we can use the data to help us. And I was amazed that it went through. So I'm really excited about that. Be the advocate so that we can help our students recover from what has been the last 18 months of very interesting life, if anything. We're going to do our best to get this up onto YouTube as soon as possible so that you'll be able to access it. At some point, you'll be able to go to our website and click on this session, and it'll take you straight to the YouTube channel, or you can go into YouTube and search EPW 2021. All of our sessions for the next block, if you want to go to one of the YouTube sessions, they'll be on the website, epew-cp.weebly.com. And then if you want to go to one of the live Zoom sessions, go ahead and go back into that email that you got into here today, and then go straight on. And then one other thing that I almost forgot to do, for those that would like a certificate, give me just a second. I'm looking up the link, and Scott beat me to it. Excellent job. Thank you, Scott, for helping me out today. Go ahead and click on that, and it'll make you a copy, and then you'll just put your name in for the sessions that you intend. So thank you again to Stephanie, Jamie, and Tom for your time, and have a great day and the rest of EPW 2021.
Thank you for attending the 48th Annual Elementary Physical Education Workshop. We're glad you were here.
Please follow us on our social media platforms. EPEW can be found on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube.
Please check out our website for links to more great sessions. Just go to epew-cp.weebly.com and click on the virtual EPEW 2021 tab at the top and scroll down.
EPEW 2021 Educators Assemble would not be possible without the support and dedication from the amazing EPW committee. The committee has been hard at work for months preparing for this workshop. Thank you to Linda McGee, Barbara Gratton, Scott Wilson, Stephanie Sandino, Julie Miller, Jessica Monlux, Kayla Ailman, Shelby Lozano, Andrea Chavez, Scott Townsend, and Cindy Chase.
Thank you for attending EPEW, where our motto is, come to learn, leave as family.